Making sure everything is working up and running, doing its thing before I start reading my book, guys. All right, so first and foremost, this is going to be a little announcement, I guess. I am going to be reading my first book, No One Is Coming to Save You. It is available on Amazon for those of you who would like to buy it. This is going to be released for free on YouTube and all streaming platforms. I am proud of my books. I'm going to read them unedited, so you guys are going to get all my bloopers and all of my blah, blah, blahs and all the things that I do as I blunder over myself while reading. I will try not to cry in the event that that happens. People cry sometimes. You'll just have to get over that. But I did my second book already. You Are Not Broken. It's up. I got such positive encouragement from that book that I've decided to release this one as well for free on YouTube. This is more about getting the information out than it is about selling books. So if you guys fuck with what I do and you enjoy this, I would highly appreciate it if you sent the playlist to people that you think might benefit from listening to either one of these books. Excuse me. So with that being said, there will be no editing. I'm going to read this shit. I will clip the beginning and the end of the video and then stick it up on the internet for you guys to get it. Introduction. Perception is reality. Perception is a lens or mindset through which we view people, events, and things. We believe what we perceive to be accurate, and we create our own realities based on those perceptions. Perception is reality. That's not just a catchy phrase, it's the truth. How you see the world shapes everything, your thoughts, beliefs, decisions, and even your relationships. This book is a mix of my thoughts and experiences, a way for me to clear my mind and hopefully share something beautiful, meaningful. It's not just about me, it's about you too, because the way you perceive life is your reality. And if that's something you want to explore or even change, this is where it starts. Before we dive in, let me be honest, this isn't going to be a lighthearted or feel-good read. At times, it might frustrate you or make you question things that you've always believed. That's okay. Growth comes from discomfort. And if this book makes you uncomfortable, it's doing its job. How often have you said or heard someone else say, common sense isn't too common, huh? It's usually said with frustration, implying that people should just get it. But here's the thing, common sense isn't common at all. It's personal. What you think is obvious might not even cross someone else's mind because their life experiences and worldview are completely different from yours. Believing that common sense should apply to everyone is rooted in something I call main character syndrome. It's the unconscious belief that your perspective is central, that what you know, feel, and believe is what everyone else should know, feel, and believe too. But the world doesn't work that way, and clinging to that mindset will only set you up for disappointment and frustration. The sooner we realize this, the sooner we can start seeing the world through a more honest and open lens. Fair warning, this book might piss you off. I'm going to challenge your beliefs, call out toxic mindsets, and push you to reflect on your life. If something I say triggers you, take it as an opportunity. Don't put the book down and walk away. Ask yourself why you're reacting the way you are. What's underneath that anger or defensiveness? What are you afraid to confront? When you feel uncomfortable, that's where the real work begins. Growth isn't easy, but it's necessary. The question is, are you ready for it? Are you willing to let go of narratives that no longer serve you and adopt a new way of seeing the world? Because that's what it takes to change your reality. My own struggle with victimhood. For a long time, I lived in a victim mindset. I thought my struggles, financial, mental, emotional, were universal. I surrounded myself with people who were in the same boat. We fed off of each other's complaints. It was an echo chamber of self-pity, poor me, pity me, life is so unfair. We told ourselves that if we had more money, more help, and more luck, everything would get better, but it didn't. That mindset is a trap. It kept me stuck in the same place year after year because here's the harsh truth. No one is coming to save you. The people who helped in the past eventually stopped, and I was left to figure it out on my own. And honestly, that was the best thing that could have happened to me. To be clear, I never had a handout. Sometimes help is someone simply enabling your bullshit. Hitting rock bottom is a defining moment. It strips away all your excuses and forces you to make a choice. Stay down or get up. When I hit my lowest point, I had to ask myself some hard questions. Was I going to keep blaming the world for my problems, or was I going to take responsibility for my life? That decision to take ownership changed everything for me. Accountability. This is the foundation for the To Be Better podcast. Own your shit and change what you can. What it means to be a man. One of the biggest lies society tells us is that you become a man when you turn 18. I couldn't disagree more. Manhood isn't something that happens automatically. It's something you earn through your actions, your character, and your commitment to others. Are you leaving? Okay. I'm going to get a kiss. I love you. Be safe.
I will be.
Too many men walk around wearing the title man without living up to it. They blame others for their failures, avoid responsibility, and fail to show up for their families. Being a man isn't about age, it's about accountability. It's about how you carry yourself as a husband, a father, a friend, and a leader. These roles aren't just labels, they're responsibilities that require effort and intention every single day. Before I move any further, guys, this book is not geared solely to men. Yes, I speak to men heavily in this book because I feel like there is a need for men to elevate themselves into what I believe a man is supposed to be, males to elevate themselves into what a man is supposed to be. But ladies, this book will fucking appeal to you. I promise you, if you just stick with it, you will gain a whole lot of value if you listen to this all the way through. Maybe it'll show you what it is to have a good man. Maybe you'll find new ways to talk to your man about becoming a good man. Maybe there will be an epiphany in you about something that you've done wrong that you might be able to repair in your marriage. I know that this is going to sound like it's geared toward men, but I promise you, you will find value here. Sadly, we've lost traditions that once marked the transition from boyhood to manhood. There's no clear rite of passage anymore. No defining moment where a boy is taught what it means to be a man. Instead, we're left with generations of men who are struggling to figure it out on their own, and many never do. This book is my small attempt to help change that. Not to highlight your shortcomings, but to redefine what it means to be a man in a way that is grounded in accountability, strength, and purpose. Changing your perception, changing your life. The core of this book and my message is simple. Your perception shapes your reality. If you believe the world is against you, that's the reality you'll live in. If you believe you're capable of overcoming challenges and creating the life you want, that's the reality you'll experience. It's not about being naive or overly optimistic. It's about choosing to see life differently. Henry Ford said it best, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Your beliefs shape your actions shape your outcomes. If you're stuck in a negative mindset, it's time to reframe the way that you see the world. That's not to say it's easy. Rewiring your perception takes time, effort, and a willingness to confront your deepest fears and insecurities, but the payoff is worth it. When you change the way you see the world and open yourself up to new possibilities, new opportunities, and a reality that's more aligned with your life you want to live. A challenge for you. As you read this book, I want to challenge you to do more than just read the words or listen to them. I want you to engage with the ideas, question your beliefs, and reflect on your life. If something resonates with you, lean into it. If something angers you, explore why. This isn't just a book, it's an opportunity for growth. We need more men who are willing to step up, take responsibility, and lead with integrity. My hope is that this book inspires you to rise to the challenge, to become the kind of man who makes a difference, not just in your own life, but in the lives of your family, your community, and beyond. Your perception is your reality. So I'll ask you again, what will you choose? Chapter 1, who are you? This question in our Discord prompted so many comments. I got stuck on chapter 1. I couldn't answer the who am I. I tried, and everything that I came up ended up being something else. So I challenge you, after I read this chapter, sit down and to try to figure out who you are. It seems like such a simple question, doesn't it? But the moment someone asks, most of us stumble. We try to give an answer that satisfies them, yet it often leaves us feeling hollow. Maybe you'd start with the obvious. My name is Chris Burkett. But that is not an answer. It's just a label. Your name isn't you. So you dig a little deeper. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a business owner. I'm a man. But even those aren't who you are. Those are roles that you play. Those are expectations society has placed on you, or perhaps expectations you have placed on yourself. Strip them all away and what's left. Let's face it, most of us don't know. Here's the uncomfortable truth. We live in a society obsessed with labels. From the moment we're born, labels are slapped on us, defining who we are supposed to be and how we're supposed to fit in. Boy, girl, son, daughter, quiet, smart, lazy, difficult. These are labels. Start small, but as we grow, they multiply. By the time we're adults, we're buried under a mountain of them. I'm pro-life, pro-choice, Democrat, Republican, gay, straight. I have ADHD. I'm an abuse survivor. The world is addicted to labels, and we've been taught to be too. Fuck your labels. Let's take a step back and look at labels and look what labels actually do. On the surface, they seem helpful. They give us a way to identify ourselves, to belong to a group, to feel like we're a part of something larger. Labels can make us feel seen, validated, and understood. But here's the catch. Labels don't just define you, they confine you. Every label you take on becomes a box. Sure, it'll feel comfortable at first. Labels give you a sense of certainty in an uncertain world. They let you plant your flag, declare your identity, and find your tribe. But over time, those labels start to limit you. Think about it. If you identify as one thing, you're automatically excluding yourself from being something else. Labels force you to pick a side, to take a stance, to stick to a script. The more labels you adopt, the less room you have to grow, change, and evolve. Before I move on, I am reading this in front of our Patreon community because they get all of everything that we do live. For those of you who bought this book and have read it, I would like you guys, just if you can have the discussion in the chat privately amongst yourselves. How hard was this chapter for you in defining who you were? And how did this change your perception on labels? I'm very curious. And for those of you who are watching this after the recording, please leave it in the comments. I'm very interested to see what you have to say. Actually, my books, like my book reading, are the ones that I have actually gone back on YouTube and read the comments repeatedly. I check it every morning at 7 a.m. when I get out of bed. Because I actually give a shit about what you guys think about my books. Okay, back to the book. The worst part, labels often stop us from asking deeper questions. Once you've labeled yourself, the work feels done. You found your answer. But what if your answer isn't enough? What if the truth of who you are can't be summed up in one word or phrase? Take a moment to really think about this. Who are you without the labels? When you strip away the name, the job title, the roles, and the identities, what's left? Most of us don't know because we've spent our whole lives hiding behind labels. We've let them become shortcuts for understanding ourselves and others. But here's the thing, you're not a label. You're not a list of bullet points or a collection of hashtags. You're a human being. You're a story, a messy, complicated, beautiful story that is still being written. That's what makes labels so dangerous. They flatten the complexity of who we are. They take a living, breathing, multi-dimensional person and reduce them to a word or two. They make it easy for people to put you in a box and file you away. And when you start to believe in those boxes, you lose sight of your true self. I believe this is deeply rooted in consumerism and the division it creates. The more labels we attach to ourselves, the easier it becomes for marketers and influencers to convince us that we need the next big thing to reinforce or enhance our identity. It taps into our tribal instincts. This is us versus them mentality. As long as we see ourselves as us and others as them, it becomes effortless to dehumanize those who don't share our labels. We turn them into adversaries simply because their identities don't align with ours. There are two kinds of labels that I want to talk about, the ones that we take and the ones that we earn. Let's start with the labels we take. These are the easy ones. These are the labels that we adopt because they make us feel safe, seen, or accepted. I'm an introvert. I have anxiety. I'm a single mom. I'm a survivor. Don't get me wrong, labels serve a purpose. They can help us make sense of our experiences and communicate them to others. For existence, someone dealing with mental health challenges might find comfort in identifying their struggle as anxiety, because it puts a name to what they're feeling. Labels like this provide clarity, turning something overwhelming and undefined into something tangible. They give us a starting point, a way to explore, understand, and address what's going on. By naming the issue, we can begin to take steps toward healing, growth, and even control over what once felt unmanageable. I got tied up there because I wanted to talk on this. You guys are getting behind the scene books when I do this, which is kind of crazy, or behind the scenes of writing the books while we do this. When I was writing that paragraph, all I could think of is how they say that, like, when it comes to spirituality, if you know something's true name or a demon's true name, you can control it, right? And that's mythology, obviously, but there is a lot of power throughout history spoken when you name something and you know its true name. And if you have anxiety, and you are able to truly name that anxiety and identify it, you have the tools now to start doing the work to decrease your anxiety. You may not ever get rid of it totally, but you can absolutely start doing things to improve situations that would have before made you feel anxious. Sorry about the throat clearing, guys. I'm actually drinking an energy drink this morning. Okay. But here's where it gets tricky. The more labels we take, the more they start to define us. Instead of being tools for understanding, they become prisons. Take the label introvert, for example. Maybe it feels true to you. You prefer quiet settings, you recharge alone, and big social gatherings drain you. That's fine, but what happens when you start using the label as an excuse? I can't go to the event. I'm an introvert. I don't do small talk. I'm an introvert. Suddenly, the label isn't just describing you, it's limiting you. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're speaking it into existence. The same goes for labels like survivor or addict. These are important parts of someone's story, but they are not the whole story. When you start to identify too strongly with these labels, you risk getting stuck in them. You risk letting them define your entire life instead of being just one chapter of your journey. We can't live in the past, and we will touch on this later in the book. Now, let's talk about the labels that actually matter, the ones we earn. These are the titles that require effort, sacrifice, and integrity. They are not handed out freely. They're claimed through action. Take man, for example. Being male is a biological fact, but being a man, that's something you have to earn. The same goes for labels like husband, father, or leader. These aren't roles that you can just step into because they sound good. They're responsibilities that demand your full commitment, or you will fail. Here's the problem. Too many people wear these titles without earning them. They call themselves men, husbands, or fathers, but their actions don't back it up. They take on the label without putting in the work. Think about what it really means to be a father. It's not just about providing financially. It's about being present in the room. It's about showing up emotionally, setting an example, and raising your children with love and discipline. It's about being someone they can look up to and someone they can count on. The same goes for being a husband. It's not enough to just say the vows and share the house. You have to honor your partner, communicate openly, and put in the effort to make your relationship work. These labels aren't easy to earn, and that's what makes them valuable. They're not about who you say you are. They're about who you show yourself to be, actions over words. Why is this distinction so important? Because we are living in a time where many men don't know what it means to be a man. So many of us grew up without a strong male role model. We were raised in a world that told us worth was tied to how much we could provide, work hard, bring home a paycheck, and that's enough. But is it? What happens when you spend all of your energy providing but none being present? You end up with generations of boys who don't know what it means to truly be a man. They've seen their fathers work themselves to the bone. They see a shadow of the man he once was, a shell that is able to bring home a check, but haven't seen them lead, nurture, or inspire. I believe it takes both masculine and feminine energy to raise a well-rounded child. Fathers and mothers bring different strengths to the table. Together they create balance. A mother might nurture, and while a father disciplines. A child learns empathy from one and resilience from the other. But when fathers aren't present physically or emotionally, that balance is lost. Mothers are left to do it all, and children grow up without a clear sense of what healthy masculinity looks like. You can see this by Googling stats of children raised in single mother households versus single father households. So where do we go from here? How do we reclaim the labels that matter and discard the ones that don't? Starts with accountability and self-awareness. You have to strip away the labels that you've taken and ask yourself, who am I really? Not a husband, not a father, or a provider, but as a person. What are your values? What do you stand for? What kind of legacy do you want to lead? Next, you have to earn the labels that matter. If you want to be called a man, act like one. Show strength, not just providing, but leading, protecting, and inspiring. If you want to be called a husband, honor your partner. Be present, communicate, love fiercely. Whew, love fiercely. That needs to go on a fucking t-shirt. If you want to be called a father, raise your children with intention. Teach them by example what it means to live with integrity. Finally, let go of the labels that do not serve you. You need to define yourself. You don't need to define yourself by your political affiliation, mental health diagnosis, or past trauma. Those things might be a part of your story, but they're not the whole story. As we run through this book, I want you to keep one thing in mind. None of this defines you. Your labels are a prison, restricting you far more than they help. Unless you are labels you fought tooth and nail to earn, unless they are labels you have fought tooth and nail to earn, ones you continue to uphold every single day and wear with genuine pride, they're not worth carrying. It's time to let those labels fall away, like shedding old dead skin. It's time to discover who you truly are. It's time to get really familiar with the phrase, how does this serve me? Chapter 2, what does it mean to be a man? Again, guys, I know I said that this is going to be written more towards men, but ladies, I promise, stick with me. There's value here for you. I fucking promise. You can look at the Google reviews. There is value for you. God, even if it just opens your fucking eyes to what it means to have a man and not a fuckboy or some little male trying to pretend to be a man. Maybe this is going to be your opportunity to give your husband the knowledge he needs to truly lead your home and grow into the man that you see the potential in him to be. Whew. What does it mean to be a man? This question has been asked over and over again throughout human history, and until recently we had a simple answer. It was a boy who entered a rite of passage and came out the other side a man. I'm going to butcher some of these tribes, and I apologize. The Maasai people of East Africa have a rite of passage where boys transitioning into manhood known as Inkipata which involves circumcision, performed without anesthetic. It tests their initiates' courage and endurance, qualities deemed vital for a warrior. Following the ritual, the boys live in isolation for a few months, learning responsibilities and expectations related to adulthood. The Satir Maui tribe in Brazil has one of the most painful rites of passage to manhood. Boys as young as 12 must wear gloves filled with bullet ants, known for their extremely painful stings, for more than 10 minutes. This initiation symbolizes the boy's endurance, bravery, and readiness for adult tasks like hunting. In Australia, the Aboriginal culture adolescent boys undergo is called the walkabout. This rite of passage requires the boy to live in the wilderness for up to 6 months, testing his survival skills and transitioning him into manhood. It represents both a spiritual journey and a self-sufficient survival experience, marking the transition from boyhood to adult. Traditional among Native American cultures, a vision quest is a rite of passage marking the transition from childhood to adulthood. A spiritual journey into the wilderness serves as a period of introspection and connection to ancestral spirits. Participants are expected to fast, pray, and form a relationship with the natural world. Rumspringa, a term meaning running around in Pennsylvania Dutch, is the Amish rite of passage for teenagers. During this period, adolescents are allowed to explore the outside world and decide whether they want to be baptized into the Amish church or leave the community for a more modern lifestyle. It's an essential process to the journey towards informed adult commitment in Amish faith. In Sri Lanka, the Ramsasara is coming of age ceremony for girls reaching puberty. Steeped in Buddhist traditions, the event encapsulates a range of processes from seclusion and traditional medicinal practices, and the significant ritual of bathing in clean water, signifying the girl's passage into womanhood. Spartans had what was called the helot killing. In Spartan society, the only way a male could be considered a man was to go through warrior training at a place called the Krypteia. Each Spartan boy would be taken from his family at the age of 7 and attend warrior training until he was 17. When he turned 18, he would be sent into the countryside with nothing but a knife and tasked with killing as many state-owned slaves, called helots, as he could while trying to return to his Krypteia in one piece. During all of this, he had to go undetected, making the rite of passage all the more difficult. If he completed the task, he would be considered a man. These are a few examples of rites of passage throughout history. They all had one thing in common: you could fail. There is nothing like this in Western culture. This has been discussed in a handful of books and can be found on tobebetter.com's recommended reading list if you want to dig further. One of these other things that all of this had to do, you were expected to kill and provide. All of these put people in a real true sense of danger. Even the Amish one, growing up in an Amish community and then being sent out into the real world where there's the temptations of drugs and alcohol, and these things have never been done before. There is a real risk of harm. In a lot of these extreme situations of death, those bullet ants could probably kill somebody. Like that's a lot. Yep. The very real threat. Okay, I read that. No, I didn't. The very real threat of failure was menacing and came with dire consequences. What would happen if someone failed? They would be marked, shunned, or kicked out of the tribe. No woman would marry them. They could not have children. They were bottom of the barrel males that no one wanted. Now, I know some of these are extreme. I'm not suggesting that we do what the Maasai do and perform circumcision or force boys' hands into gloves of bullet ants, but I am suggesting that there needs to be something that teaches young boys to grow into men. Another thing all of these trials had in common was the community and the parents' responsibility to prepare their children for rites of passage. Before World War II, penicillin was not mass produced. It went into production in 1941. Before then, you could die from an infection fairly easy. That was 80 years ago, 2 generations. Go back 3 or 4 and the world was very different than it is today. People were dying simply from not knowing to boil water. It was a very different time. With medical advances, antibiotics, anesthesia, sterile rooms, and medicines for every kind of ailment, we have become soft. Climate-controlled homes, powered everything. We have become lazy, fat, soft, and weak. It took 2 generations to unlearn all the necessities our grandparents had to learn early in childhood to survive. Their common sense is now performing viral videos on YouTube about homesteading, gardening, and being self-sufficient, something we certainly are not today. In the early parts of American history, unless you lived in a really small city, the chances of you going to a publicly run school were very slim. Most young men and women were taught on the land their parents owned, learned the trades of their family, and continued generation after generation and said work. We used to be self-sufficient people. In the 19th and 20th centuries, changed everything. We saw a rise in public schools, the installation of government-ran programs, and cities growing in population, the advent of high school, they called it the academy at first, changed everything. Now we are not taught the values of our family, and nothing is handed down through generations like sacred information to keep us alive and thriving. Family got smaller. Mom and dad both entered the workforce, and kids were put into indoctrination systems to be taught how to be good little worker bees. In the process, men got softer and softer. It's obvious that I have a disdain for the public school system. Looking at school now, the closest thing we see to a warrior is full contact sports. Everything kids learn up until the point of graduation comes from someone other than their parents. I learned after writing this book that our brain perceives us watching full contact sports as if we are in those full contact sports. So when you're watching football or the UFC or rugby, soccer, hockey, anything that could create an actual physical challenge, you get the same release in your brain as the people doing it because your brain believes that you are in that. There's a whole study done about that. And I wish I'd have wrote that down so that I'd had it prepared, but I didn't. Back to the book. We read something on the podcast that said the average parent spends less than 30 minutes of quality time a day with their kids doing something that isn't bath time or homework. Another study showed that some parents have bath time as the best time to bond with their children. I'm willing to bet that's because there's no screens in the bathroom and they don't want to get their phone wet. The average parent spends less than 16 minutes a week in conversation with their teenagers and less than 30 minutes a week of quality conversation with their spouse about things that are not work, bill, or chore related. I'm going to read that again because you motherfuckers need to hear that. The average parent spends less than 16 minutes a week in conversation with their teenagers and less than 30 minutes a week of quality conversation with their spouse about things that are not work, bill, or chore related. They succeeded in turning us into mindless drones. We do what we are told, struggle for scraps, long for adventure, and the ability to be men. The mountains are calling, I must go, by John Muir. Those of you who are outdoor types who hunt, fish, shoot, and do contact sports, you are likely prior or current military, southern, or backwoods kind of people, or you've chosen not to integrate into major society. I admire these lifestyles. I long for my own land. However, I am a realist and know that I need the internet. Not just for work, but to feed my addictions when I'm bored. I can admit it, though. I have opted for small town living instead, and it's a happy medium for me. I can admit it, though. I have opted for small town living instead, and it's a happy medium for me. I wrote small down, and I didn't catch my typo. That was very difficult for me to read. I look at the major population centers when we travel and think we aren't meant to live like this. Farming is automated. Most people couldn't keep a houseplant alive, let alone grow their own food. Most have no idea how to hunt, or even fewer are those who can shoot and know how to process and pack out an animal. Our country doesn't make enough food to feed everyone domestically. We have to import and supplement as we go. I can't believe I just called this shit food. We used to be the men who felt it was our duty to fight for what was right. We went to war because we felt it was our duty. We defended our honor, our name, and our word with physical violence. There was a way about men, a way other men could look at and measure themselves against, forming a pecking order. Now, with most interactions done digitally, the outlawing of mutual combat, and the peacetime mentality, we've stopped all violence in a civilized society. Instead, we resort to being nasty to each other behind a fake screen name, hiding in anonymity. I like that word, anonymity. Anonymity. I can't even say this shit again. I like the word, though. Anonymity. Words have become violent or attacks. Somewhere along the line, we truly went soft. We've all heard the hard times make strong men speech. In case you haven't, it's by Michael Hoff from his book, Those Who Remain. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. We are in the time of weak men. The only difference now is that in this cycle, so many of us were never taught how to be a man, or even put value into what it means. I fear the hard times that are coming. I pray for the burden of the men who are capable that will have to face it. So after all, what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to you? When you Google what does it mean to be a good man, you get this. These are all bullet points. Integrity, honesty, kindness, emotional intelligence. He listens, open-mindedness. A good man seeks knowledge. He cares about others. He is confident. He is humble. He is patient. Responsible and mature, takes care of himself, treats people with respect. A man is forgiving. A man judges others. Ambition, compassion, confidence, curiosity, emotional availability, empathy. He communicates well. He inspires you. I'm not saying Google is wrong, but I could really narrow that list down. Integrity, honesty, emotional maturity, a seeker of knowledge, a seeker of knowledge, humility, ambition, compassion, driven. That list is pretty short, and yet it's important. The why of these things matter. A man should have to live a virtuous life. He should be willing to protect and provide for his own. He must fill many roles in his life: warrior, husband, father, teacher, and if he lives to an old age, elder. Some of these roles will overlap. They will look different to everyone. I truly believe this is the 5 stages of manhood. We will get into defining success later in this book. I want to break these down before getting into what a male falsely wearing the label of man looks like. The warrior. This should start in childhood. Testing your abilities, wrestling, fighting, and doing all the competitive things that kids do. Pause. All of you out there who have children and you've got multiple boys, let them wrestle, let them fight, let them be ugly to each other, let them establish a pecking order in the home. Let them do all of the things that little boys do: talk shit, wrestle, punch each other, prank each other, all of the things that we deem as bullying and it's unacceptable in society. They could get hurt. Fucking let them get hurt. Let them do it in your home where it's supervised and they can do things that is fucking stupid in a controlled environment so that the hurt that they get is minimized. But let that hurt come. It's going to make them strong. It's going to create a bond between brothers and sisters. It's going to make it so that when they go out into the world and they are in a group setting doing something, that pecking order might be established, but I promise you that pecking order will stay within the family. They will not allow the people beneath them that they are responsible for protecting get bullied or picked on. There is a fucking reason that we've done this throughout the human history that we have. End rant. This teaches a sense of confidence and an understanding of where we need to work. Forget your participation trophies. There needs to be a clear-cut winner. There needs to be trash talking during good sportsmanship taught after. There needs to be score kept. Kids need to be taught that you can come back from failure and win. If we had to write a passage into adulthood, I believe the warrior aspect would be the hardest and highest thing to achieve in terms of what makes you a man. Now, I'm not saying that all men need to join the military or master combat. I'm also not saying that it's a bad thing. I am, however, saying that being a warrior is only one pillar. Being a warrior teaches you discipline. It teaches you not to quit when things get hard. It lets you know exactly how capable you are and pushes you past your breaking point. It sets you up to do the hard things in life without crying, bitching, and complaining. It teaches you that you have things to do and negative thoughts won't get them done. Pause. If you guys have ever done something that you don't want to do and you just shut the fuck up, put your headphones on and do it, it's a whole lot easier than it is if you start complaining before you go. The more you complain, the more you do as you go, the harder it is to actually get that thing done because you are literally talking yourself out of doing that thing. Yeah. Most men nowadays have forgiven the concept of what it means to be a warrior in every sense of the word. They know if they bitch, complain, cry hard, and long enough, someone will step in and do it for them. Give up on them or just accept this behavior. Ultimately, this fails them. Ladies, this is your fucking time to shine. Stop doing that shit for your husbands. If you don't like the way the dishes are being put away, don't do it for them. Stand there and fucking explain to them the way that you want it done and then let them do it. Even more so with your fucking kids. If your kids aren't cleaning the way that you want the cleaning done, don't step in. Don't make them do that shit 50 fucking times until it's done to your standard and then explain to them why this is your standard. If you step in and do it for them, they're never going to learn. They will always play that fucking card and they will never get to the point of living to an expectation that makes you happy. Men, if you think that your wife is constantly nagging at you because of you not doing things the way that they want them done, if you are a man who lives under the tenets that I'm laying down in this book and your duty is to protect, provide, and lead, and their responsibility is to keep the fucking house clean and they're asking you to do shit, you are doing your best on the outside of the home. You're living to your standard. Inside of the home, that's their standard. That's their domain. And if they're asking you to do something, it is your duty to do it to their standard. If you are working in a job and your boss says, do this thing, and you have to do it to his standard, you do it to his standard to bring home the paycheck, to protect, provide, and lead, to do those things. When you come home, don't fuck your wife's house up. Don't do that. Okay, back to the book. I have no idea where I was. As much as I look down on this behavior, I look down on those who enable it even more. A warrior knows who he is and who he isn't. He is capable and he protects his loved ones. His tribe is stronger than many will ever understand because it's honed and tested by other warriors. To live among these men, you must be thick-skinned and willing to learn and know how to be humble when not to. There is an art form to this. My definition of the warrior pillar of men sets the foundation for the rest of his life. The lessons learned here are passed down from father to son, mentor to pupil. Without this foundation, I do not believe we will ever truly have discipline. With all of that said, this isn't about violence. This isn't about being Billy Badass. This is about pushing yourself to the limit in all things. If it comes to any type of struggle in life, you can face it head on, get to work, prioritize, execute, and burn the fucking ships. The husband. This title, in my opinion, is the second most important of the pillars of man. This title means that you have been deemed worthy of being a good provider, protector, and leader. Someone has chosen you, believing you are capable enough to lead them. Hopefully this title evolves into father one day. However, that is not in the cards for everyone, and I get that. This title means that someone believes that you are the perfect match for the rest of your lives. The reality is most of you won't make it to the end of life in one union. As much as I want to dive into statistics and all of the baggage that comes with them, I simply say this as a result of weak men in society. New societal norms, lack of faith, and the absence of father in the homes, a figure that has consistently decreased since the 1960s. Women obviously have a hand in this as well, but this conversation is about men and what we can change. If we're supposed to learn from the people who brought us into this world, but they didn't have their shit together enough to make it work, how the hell are we supposed to have the tools? As they say in Fight Club, we are a generation of men raised by women. While society keeps pushing the narrative that a child can be raised alone, statistics prove otherwise. Overwhelmingly, children do better with a father in the home, and in some cases even better with single fathers than single mothers. For those men, statistics do shine brighter, though there would need to be more men in the world and fewer boys wearing the false label of man. While this seems like I'm speaking about what it is to be a father, I'm actually speaking about the title of husband and what it means to have a family, to be the head of household, to have your woman believe in you so much that she sleeps soundly at night knowing that you are her protector and leader of the house. To know that if anything goes wrong, she can simply look to you for guidance. She trusts that you will know what to do and has faith that you will be the warrior needed to get it done. It's one thing to talk the talk, but can you truly be that motherfucker when life demands it? Or will you fold, cry, complain, blame everyone else, and remain that little boy who was never taught otherwise? Being a husband means that at the end of the day, everything rests on your shoulders. All eyes in the home look to you to provide, lead, and protect. You never get to take the credit for the wins. That falls to the family. You celebrate as one. The failures, though, those all land on your shoulders. Every single shortcoming lies at your feet. You can't call yourself a husband or a leader and not be able to shoulder this. Heavy is the head. If if this feels too heavy to read, and you are too young, you are a young man not yet married, then until you are ready for this responsibility, don't start a family. Don't get married. That failure will eat at you all your life. It will teach you a lot, but the lessons can be learned with less heartache, money, and stress. Trust me. The title of husband can lead to much joy and positivity in your life. It also speaks to your ability to establish your bloodline and be responsible for the teachings, lives, and futures of your kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and so on. But you have to be a good man for that to come to fruition. Sorry, my wife just texted me about whatever's going on there, and I need to answer that real quick, guys. Ooh, I must have triggered some people. We lost about 15 people. Yeah, I clearly bothered some of y'all. It's okay. You'll forgive me. And if not, that's okay too. How you love your wife, treat your wife, and run your family can be one of the most satisfying things you ever achieve. The father. Because of the last pillar, I'm going to try to cut this one short as a lot of it will overlap. To be a father, to be present, active, and loving will be one of the hardest jobs we will ever take on. Knowing that every one of our shortcomings will land on the little souls who look to us as their hero is humbling. This is going to make me cry. Our failures can devastate them, leave scars on their souls, and in the end destroy their futures. The reality that we choose to see will impact those we are supposed to protect and guide. Your warrior will be tested. How you balance your time, provide, protect, love, and guide within the 24 hours you have. How will you balance your time, provide, protect, love, and guide within the 24 hours that you have each day? How will you be there and present? What will your kids remember about their childhood? I have no answers for you here. My belief is that a man should do everything he can to provide and protect first. If that means you work 2 jobs to make ends meet, get off 1 day a week, you must balance that 1 day as a family. Your free time will be thin, and this is a balancing act. You will be pushed to the edge. It will make you question everything, but if you succeed, man, your husband title will be tested. You will put your children over your wife. Will you put your children over your wife? Will you be there to support her in parenting? Will you be a good man in hard times or take the easy road? My last thought on this, oddly enough, comes from a post I saw online a few years ago. It showed footprints inside of a footprint, a big boot and a little shoe, and it said, Dad said, watch your step, son. And the son replied, you watch your step, I'm following in your footprints. This quote hit me harder than I'd like to admit. The teacher. I can't just go by that. This is one of those things, guys, where honestly, we follow in our parents' steps. Like truly, whether we like our parents or we love them or we're close or we're not, all of their fucked up behavioral traits and all of the things that they did during our fundamental years where our brain is developing, we take on all of their habits, their mannerisms, their facial expressions, their tempers. Like all of that shit is a mirror of our parents. And if you don't watch where you step and your kids are following in your footsteps, you will unknowingly fuck your kids up. The teacher. So you've done the warrior husband and father thing, or maybe you just navigated life successfully. You've made it to the stage in your life where you have wisdom to impart. You're no longer a student in most things. Life has honed you into your middle age, and now you can pass down your mistakes and victories. This is your opportunity to set younger men up for success. You have a duty to mentor and teach those who haven't gone through what you have. You can teach the warrior the ways of peace. You can teach the husband the ways of compassion and communication. You can help the father understand his role and step in to correct his shortcomings. It takes a village. This is truly a good time in life. The elder. This is something I don't believe we have in Western culture. It's easier to throw grandpa in a home and let him rot than it is to take care of him. Your life up until this point will dictate how your kids and grandkids take care of you. You will have wisdom that spans generations, and your greatest joy will come from having debates about everything, teaching young ones how to live, and showing them how to slow down in life. I have to be honest, my idea of what an elder is feels like a fairy tale, something made up. I don't have any of it in my life, and all of my mentors are not that old yet. I will leave it with this. I love talking to old people. I love listening to their stories and hearing them recount their lives. They have forgotten more than we will ever learn, and their life experiences can teach us so much. To be an elder, though, you have to have earned the title of a good man. This is not an easy thing to do. Now let's dive into the reality of a male who hasn't earned the title of man. This is every emotionally unregulated, wall-punching, woman-beating, excuse-spewing, child-abandoning, cowardly shell of a person who dares to call themselves a man. If you are the type who lets your family suffer while you sit on your ass blaming the economy, the government, or some other external force of your failures, you're not just failing yourself, you're failing everyone around you. You think you're a victim, you're not. You're a parasite. You're content living off the charity of others, refusing to put in work, making excuses instead of progress, and whining about how hard life is. Guess what? Life is hard. It's hard for everyone, but real men step up and face it. Real men grind, fight, push through, even when the odds are stacked against them. If you're the kind of male who abandons your kids, leaves your woman to fend for herself, and spends your days avoiding responsibility, let me make something clear. You are not a man. Hell, calling you a dog would be an insult to a loyal, hardworking animal. You're worse than useless. You're actively destructive. Now let's address the excuse makers. I can't get a job because the economy sucks. It's not my fault I didn't have a dad. Society failed me. Sure, maybe it did fail you. Maybe your parents dropped the ball. Guess what? None of that changes the fact that your life is your responsibility. Nobody is coming to save you. No one owes you anything. You are accountable for the life that you are building or destroy. Your perception is your reality, and you're choosing to stay stuck. Every time you decide it's easier to give up or quit, blame someone else, you are choosing weakness. You're choosing to fail, and it's not just your life you're screwing up. It's the lives of everyone who depends on you. You can choose differently. You can choose to get up, get to work, and take control. It's a choice, but you've got to make it. Nobody can do it for you. Here's the part that burns up most women. I'm sorry, here's the part that burns me up the most. Women. Women who choose these types of males, women who know exactly what kind of spineless, emotionally stunted man-child they're dealing with and still decide to breed with them. This isn't just a personal mistake, it's a generational disaster. These women enable this behavior. They perpetuate the cycle. They bring children into the world who grow up with absent fathers, weak role models, and no sense of what it means to be a man. The damage ripples out, ruining lives, communities, and families. But let's be real, it's not all on the women. Those males are responsible for themselves and their actions. They choose to stay weak. They choose to stay lazy. They choose to stay useless. And until they choose differently, they will never be men. Manhood isn't a birthright. It's earned. So stop making excuses. Stop blaming others. Stop sitting in the wreckage of your own life like a victim. Get up, fight, work, sacrifice, and earn the title of man. If you don't, phone went off. If you don't, then don't expect respect because you don't deserve it. However, there's hope. I've seen so many incredible stories of people rising from nothing. Men who started as the very definition of struggle, stuck in cycles of despair, making excuses, or simply not knowing better. But then something changed. They made the decision to be better, to want more from life than what was handed to them. These men didn't wait for someone to fix their circumstances. They didn't sit in resentment or self-pity. They chose to fight for a better future, not just for themselves, but for those they love. I've watched men take on 2 full-time jobs, sacrificing their comfort, their free time, and sometimes even moments with their families. They set aside the fleeting pleasures of now to build a foundation for something greater. They saved every penny, pouring it into a dream, starting a business, learning a trade, or simply clawing their way out of debt. It wasn't easy. They missed birthdays, holidays, family dinners. They endured exhaustion, setbacks, and suffered so that their kids wouldn't have to. They chose the hard path because they believed in life, in the life waiting for them on the other side. And you know what? That struggle wasn't in vain. These men found their warrior, became the kind of people their families could look up to. They became the kind of fathers who could send their kids to college, the kind of husbands who could provide stability, and the kind of men who could hold their heads up high and be called good. Here's the most beautiful part of it all. If you're the problem, that's not the end of the story. That's actually the beginning. Because if you're the problem, you're also the solution. You hold the power to turn everything around. Every choice you make can lead you closer to a life that you want. It doesn't matter where you're starting from or how you've fallen. The moment you decide to take responsibility to make a change is the moment you begin rewriting your story. The road ahead won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Every sacrifice, every long night, every moment of self-doubt that you push through, it all builds a life that you've dreamed of. You can become the kind of man who inspires others, the kind of man who earns the respect of his family, his friends, and himself. The transformation is possible. I've seen it happen, and if they can do it, so can you. Your life is waiting. Be the solution. Be the man you're capable of becoming. The world needs you now to show up. Not just for yourself, but for the people who will one day look to you as an example of what's possible. Choose better, fight for better, become better because you can. So what does it look like to be a man? It's not an easy question, and it sure as hell isn't an easy answer. You've read all my thoughts up to this point on what makes a male a man. You've heard me rant about what isn't a man, but I haven't really broken down what I believe a good man is. I'll keep this simple and real. For those of you who want more, I'll drop a link at the end of the chapter to some YouTube videos where I dig even deeper into the topic. Being a good man looks like being a servant to his family. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not talking about slavery or indentured servitude here. I'm talking about a willingness to serve. That willingness, I believe, is at the core of what makes us men. If you look at it from a religious standpoint, Adam was made to serve God. God tasked Adam with tending to the garden and naming the animals therein. Adam's existence was one built on work and service, tending to the land, naming the plants, caring for the animals. But God saw that Adam could do no more. God knew Adam was not at his full potential. So what did he do? He made Adam a companion. He gave him a woman. Now that I put that in normal, proper text, and just to add some humor to the moment in my head right here, I'm yelling, let's fucking go. This is the first time man realized his potential could be multiplied simply by having a woman in his life. God knew it. God was thinking, Adam, you're slacking. We talked about this. I need you to move out of my basement and finish my garden. Then it hit God. Adam needs a companion. This is one of those things where it's built into our DNA. You get a good woman in front of a man and man's like, watch this. Watch me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make her proud. I'm going to go do the thing. That's ingrained in us. I truly believe that shit. So when Adam got Eve, he went from being like, oh man, I don't know. What should I call that? To naming every fucking thing he could. Throwing out all kinds of shit. A platypus. The fuck kind of word is that? Adam figured that shit out because he was watching. He didn't want to look stupid. I know that Adam didn't actually name the platypus. It's humor. Now, I'm no theologian, but in my mind, I imagine Adam seeing Eve for the first time and thinking, well, damn, now I have to impress her. And how does he do that? He gets to work. He starts showing off where he was giving some effort before, and now he's going above and beyond, naming everything faster, tending to the garden better, going all out with a you like that, watch this energy. Here's the truth. The right woman will have you doing things you never thought possible, working harder than you ever imagined. And though you may hate it in the moment, you might be tired and beat up at the end of the day, that shit goes right out the window the moment she smiles at you. Fucking right it does. For all you good old boys who spend the day outside working yourself to the bone, whether it's in the field or on a job site, or whether you make your living or wherever you make your living, you know the feeling. You come home exhausted, covered in dirt and sweat, smelling like you just crawled out of a swamp. You walk through the door and there she is, the love of your life, greeting you with a smile and a kiss, a hot meal waiting for you on the table. You sit down with your family, say grace, and eat together. And in that moment, you feel it, the sense of pride. That joy only comes when you're serving the people you love with everything you've got. And then she looks at you, maybe wraps her arms around you. And later that night says the magic words, I'm proud of you. Shit still fucks me up. That's it. That's the nitrous boost we didn't know we needed. If you've ever felt that, you know what I'm talking about. It's like hitting both nitrix tanks while you're already flying down the road at triple digits. And yes, I see it here too, full on Fast and Furious montage in my head, but with 80s music blasting. Bad effects and nitrous flame shooting out the tailpipe. You're welcome. Being a good man is about more than just service. Don't worry, I'll dive into what it means to be a husband and a father later in this book. So I'm not going to cover that here. We'll also get into integrity, core values, defining success, owning your past, and taking the steps to change your life. All of the pieces stacked together to create the foundation of what it means to be a good man. Entire books have been written, and countless men who are far smarter than I am have spoken on this topic. I don't claim to have all the answers, but here's what I believe. Being a good man means doing whatever it takes to provide, protect, and lead your family. It's about being the ultimate servant to those around you, not in the sense of losing yourself, but in willingly stepping up and shouldering the weight of responsibility for the greater good. It's about doing all the hard shit you don't want to because it's the right thing to do. It's about being a good steward, taking care of the people and the resources in your life to the absolute best of your ability. A good man fosters community. He shows up for people who depend on him. He gives more than he takes, and leaves the world a little better than he found it. It's about living a life of such intention and honor that when you finally meet your maker, you can stand with your shoulders back, your head high, and a clear heart. You'll know you gave everything you had. You'll know you lived from a place of love, sacrifice, and purpose. And if you don't believe in meeting your maker, fine. Then it's about facing your loved ones on your deathbed with a smile, knowing you built a name worth remembering, knowing the way that you lived will be talked about and passed down to your grandkids and great-grandkids, that the lessons you taught, the morals you lived by, the character that you displayed will shape your family for generations to come. You will go into whatever comes next, whether it's nothing, something, or everything, with a smile and an attitude that says, I don't know what's next, but I'm ready for it. Being a good man is about knowing who you are. It's about understanding what you're capable of and building on it every single day to become better. Not for applause, but not for recognition, but because the people that you love deserve that version of you. A good man gives his family a side of himself the rest of the world will never see. He is both the shield and the spear. He protects his family with everything he has, and when the time comes, he is the one who steps forward to fight. He is that motherfucker when he needs to be. At the end of the day, being a good man means carrying that weight, leading with love, and leaving behind a legacy of honor, strength, and care. It's about living in a way that says, I did all I could, I gave all I had, and I am damn proud of it. Being a good man doesn't mean being perfect. It means showing up and serving your family, your woman, and living your life with intention, effort, and pride. It's about doing the work, not because you have to, but because you want to, because it fulfills you, because their happiness, their pride in you gives you purpose. It looks like stepping up to serve, not just in the big flashy ways, but in the small, consistent ones. It looks like working hard, providing for the people you love, and finding joy in their joy. It looks like living with purpose and being the man they can rely on, the man that they are proud of. That's what being a good man looks like to me. Now that I've run through all of this, I'm dreading the next 2 chapters, husband and father, because I feel like they will be repetitive and you will likely lose interest. However, I believe the title of man requires you to experience these titles at some point in your life, and you will need to know how to navigate them. Also, shameless plug, check out some content from the Voice of the Broken podcast on the To Be Better podcast on YouTube. This is a quick afterthought while writing the chapter on what it means to be a man. I feel it's important to touch on how you carry yourself, the way you present yourself. Are you a gentleman? I've made 2 videos on this topic available on To Be Better's YouTube channel. Look for the gentleman playlist to check them out. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/@ the @ symbol, To Be Better. Chapter 3. So you call yourself a husband. A pride thing fucking got me, or being proud of me got me. In 2004 remake, The Dawn of the Dead, Jake Weber's character Michael says, "I can tell you what job I was worst at, being a husband." Someone counters, "Being a husband isn't a job." Another quips, "You've obviously never been married." That line resonates because it's painfully accurate. Being a good husband is not a role you can take lightly. It is a full-time job, requiring daily effort and unwavering commitment. You have to check countless boxes every single day. You must prioritize your marriage, not over yourself, but sometimes even not just over yourself, but sometimes over your wife. It's about balancing the needs of the relationship while continuously growing and evolving alongside your partner. To succeed as a husband, you need emotional regulation, open communication, and unflinching honesty. You must have the hard conversations without resorting to shame, blame, judgment, or guilt. You also have to let go of the bitterness, the trauma, and from past relationships, no matter how deep those wounds run. It's not easy work, but if you're willing to put in the effort, you are setting yourself up for failure. Still think that you're ready to get married, or maybe you're already married and trying to salvage what's left? Here's the truth. You can't change your partner. The only person that you can change is yourself. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself and hope that your growth inspires a positive shift in your environment and in your spouse. That is accountability. That is the accountability that we talk so much about on the podcast. Again, if you're the problem, that's great because you can change you. When done right, being a husband can be the most rewarding job you'll ever take on. A thriving marriage gives you a lifelong partner to explore this journey with. Your spouse becomes your best friend, therapist, support system, and biggest cheerleader. They will push you to achieve more than you thought possible, all while inspiring you to strive to become the best version of yourself. But when marriage goes wrong, it can be devastating emotionally, financially, and psychologically. Prenups can help mitigate some of the financial risk, but no legal document can guarantee that your marriage will last. Even if your wife is willing to go to therapy or put in the work with you, there is no way to ensure that she won't get bored and decide to leave. The best advice, slow down, court, date, give it time, don't rush into marriage. Truly get to know each other. Who you marry is one of the most important decisions of your life. Picking the right woman will truly set you up for success. She will support you as you support her. She will inspire you and multiply the things you bring into the home. She will give you a good life. The wrong one will sabotage you at every step, and in the end, you will end up broken, and alone. Or worse, stay and spend the rest of your life in conflict and misery because neither of you are willing to change. Now that we've got that out of the way and you're understanding you are only responsible for you, let's talk about a self-assessment. On a 5-star scale, how do you rank yourself on the following traits? Take a moment to be honest and write your ratings down. Consider your own personal Google review of your performance as a husband. And you guys can pause this as you're watching this later on and do this. So how am I at provision? That's question 1. Protection, emotional maturity, compassion, communication, leadership, and intimacy. Now, let's be real. You probably weren't completely honest with yourself. And if you were, you're probably looking at your scores thinking, damn, I need to step my game up. That's okay. Nobody's on their A game all the time. Life is messy, and that has a way of testing us, even the strongest among us. Kids, sorry, I will always check my phone when my wife texts. Y'all are just going to have to bear with me for a minute. Okay. You probably weren't completely honest. Okay, read that. Kids, work, in-laws, financial stress, lack of free time, all of it takes a toll, and let's not forget, it doesn't just affect you, it affects your partner too. This is a team effort, but here's the catch. It's not your partner's job to lead. That responsibility falls squarely on your shoulders. If you're not familiar with the check-ins, it's something that Peaches and I put together to help couples communicate communicate better and work through challenges. You can download a free PDF at tobebetter.com and give it a try. Once you've practiced the check-ins and feel confident about the process, ask your partner to give you the same 5-star review on the 7 traits. Hopefully, you've created a safe enough environment for them to be honest. Their feedback can reveal where you need to improve as a husband and where you're already excelling. What it means to be a husband. There's more to being a husband than just wearing the title. Being a husband means offering your wife the version of yourself that no one else in the world gets. You are her protector, provider, and leader of the home, but let's be clear, those roles do not mean that you are a bully or a dictator. For example, in my marriage, my wife entrusted me with final decision-making power. If we can't come to a consensus on an important matter, I have the exclusive right to make the final call. It's a huge responsibility. It's not one that I take lightly. The question is, do you think you are level-headed enough to play that card? Can you make the call without abusing the authority to simply get your way? I believe I can, and here's why. Before I read, here's why. Simply saying I believe I can is an ego thing. And if you guys are answering that question and simply going, yeah, I can do that, I think you need to slow down and really evaluate why you think you can, because that could be your ego talking. I believe I can. Here's why. I never once played that card. It's a responsibility I carry with the utmost seriousness because I know the weight it holds. If I use the authority and it works out, we win. But if it fails, the burden of failure falls entirely on my shoulders. I want to note here that the belief that I can is probably my ego on some level. It's likely very real that having that power instills enough fear in me that using it would be a last-ditch effort like a nuclear football. Let's consider a scenario. You decide to move your family to a new city for a job you believe will provide financial security and a better future. Your wife, however, thinks it's a bad idea. She is hesitant to leave family, schools, and the support systems that you have built together. Despite her reservations, your belief in this opportunity is so strong that you use your final decision-making power. A year later, the job doesn't work out and you're filing for bankruptcy. You've uprooted your life, disrupted their lives, and now face the fallout. You played the card and it blew up in your face. What now? This is why actively listening to your wife is crucial. Lay everything out. Tell her what's going on with the decision you're making. Most importantly, listen to what she has to say. You're not living for yourself anymore. Every decision you make will ripple through your family, and you will have to reap the outcomes, whether good or bad. Weigh your options. Weigh her thoughts. Her perspective should always be a major factor in your decision making. Leadership is not dictatorship; it's partnership. A whole lot of ships there. We have a fleet. Listening is a skill. It's something you can constantly improve on. It will take work. When you have conversations with your wife, put your phone down, face each other, use techniques like repeating things back. What I'm hearing you say is, validate what they're feeling. I didn't think of that. Hearing that, I can see how that would make you feel. The goal here is to connect, not correct. If you grew up in an abusive situation, have mental illness or trauma from a past relationship, this will be one of the hardest skills to implement. It is important to remember that unless your wife is the one responsible for your past, she shouldn't pay for the sins of them. If either of you find yourself getting upset, defensive, or even agitated, you need to pause the conversation and figure out why. Understanding what makes us tick can react to help future communications 1,000-fold. Another tip is to enforce love in the moment. This phrase has become my mantra. I'm sorry, I love you, and I don't want to talk to you like that. I have used this every time I have even remotely started to raise my voice. Talk shit or treat her with anything other than respect in a conversation. It isn't easy at first. After a while, though, it becomes your default setting and things are a simple conversation and not fights. That is the goal. Effective leadership requires information. To be an effective leader in your marriage, you need information. You need to understand the needs, wants, desires of the people you have chosen, who have chosen to follow you. I'm going to read that again because of the stuttering. To be an effective leader in your marriage, you need information. You need to understand the needs, wants, and desires of the people who have chosen to follow you. Decision making isn't about what's best for you. It's about understanding what's best for the family as a whole. How do you get this information? It starts with communication. And I don't mean surface level conversations about bills, chores, or appointments. You need to have meaningful, regular conversations about what's going on in your wife's world. Studies show that the average married couple talks for only 20 to 27 minutes per week. That's less than 5 minutes per day. If this sounds like your life, ask yourself how much of that time is spent connecting with your wife and how much is spent talking about logistics. When you go out to dinner, do you sit in silence? Do you complain about the service or nitpick the environment? What does your conversation look like? While speaking on this time, I want to point out something else. How much quality time are you actually spending with your wife? If on average only 5 minutes a day is spent in conversation, you can't tell me you feel connected. You know what's going on in your household to make it run, but you don't know what's going on with the person. Do the two of you even know each other anymore? Building better conversations. Here's how you can change the dynamic and create opportunities for deeper connection. Ask meaningful questions. Instead of sticking to routine topics, dig deeper. Ask about their dreams, her favorite hobbies, or her current passions. What is something she's been thinking about lately that she hasn't shared yet? Number 2, be present. Put your phone down. Better yet, leave it in the car when you're out together. Eliminate distractions so you can focus on each other. Number 3, create rituals. Establish regular times for uninterrupted conversations. Whether it's morning coffee, evening walks, or a weekly check-in, consistency matters. When you prioritize these moments, you'll find yourself rediscovering the person you fell in love with. Before I move on, I know I put the weekly check-in with number 3, that you should have been doing these anyways, until your communication is good enough that you can have many check-ins and eventually call each other on your BS in the moment without conflict. Do the check-ins. They have a purpose and they work. We have received thousands of emails and comments about how they've prevented divorce and brought people back together. When you prioritize these moments, you'll find yourself rediscovering the person you fell in love with. The bigger picture. Being a husband isn't just about making decisions or paying bills. It's about creating an environment where your wife feels valued, heard, safe, and supported. It's about understanding that your actions and decisions have lasting effects on her life and the life that you're building together. If you're not communicating, you're not leading. If you're not listening, you're not protecting. And if you're not growing, you're not providing the emotional and relational support. You're not providing the emotional and relational stability your marriage needs to thrive. I don't know why I struggled with that one. So take the self-assessment seriously, reflect on where you excel and where you need to grow, then do the work because your marriage is worth it, and so is your role as a husband. Here are some things you can do to make those dinner nights a little more pleasant and help you reconnect with your partner. Part 1, ask about something from their past. This is just kind of rehash what I just talked about. What is something that you don't know about their history? What do they remember from school? Maybe an embarrassing moment where they got laughed at until they cried. A moment or a time they laughed until they cried. Go on a no cell phone date, leave all the tech in the car, and you can focus entirely on each other. Try a hike or a picnic. Head to a beach, park, or other relaxing spot. While you're there, ask about their current hobbies or interests. Ask about their passions. What is something that they're passionate about right now, and invite them to tell you all about it. That passion thing, guys, your hobbies are going to shift and evolve, and the things that you're passionate about is going to morph your entire life. And not sharing those with your person is doing yourself a disservice. Back to the book. These are simple ideas, but they can make a significant impact. Try to find things that give you the ability to talk to each other like you wanted to when you were dating. If you genuinely like your partner, you aren't tolerating them, you'll find these activities naturally lead to emotional reconnection. You'll rediscover shared laughter, see your partner through fresh eyes, and let the stress of bills, work, chores, and the daily life fade away. You'll start noticing the small things you once obsessed over when you first fell in love. For me, when I truly tune into my wife, I notice the subtle ways. I almost said subtle. The subtle ways her mouth moves slightly more on one side than the other. I think it's incredibly attractive and uniquely her. I notice the length of her neck and the way that she carries herself when she's having fun. These little qualities remind me that I am deeply in love with my woman. This isn't routine. It isn't mundane. It's not something I am tolerating for the sake of the future. It's about being present in the moment. She has my full attention, and that's amazing. She feels the same way. I want to briefly touch on the my woman comment. If any of you reading this or listening are triggered by that, ask yourself why you got married. She is my woman. I am her husband. Not a husband, her husband. She isn't a wife. She is my wife. I think that offended mindset might be the reason your marriage is in trouble. The roommate phase isn't a marriage. The roommate phase in a marriage is a choice, and so is getting out of it. You don't get married to merely live with someone. You got married because the person you chose lit a fire under you. If your wife no longer inspires you to be a better man, ask yourself why. You will never stop evolving or growing as a person, and your marriage shouldn't either. Make a choice, make a change, and you can have a new marriage with the same person. It just takes effort. If your marriage is struggling, here's the hard truth. Start being honest right now. Some of you are probably thinking, no way, you don't know my wife. You're right, I don't. But I do know this. If you can't be 100% honest with your wife and you're lying to her, your relationship is already broken. If you're giving her 99% of honesty, you're lying. Sugarcoating things and not saying what needs to be said is lying. You can say what needs to be said diplomatically without being nasty, but you need to be honest. Back to the book. Yes, honesty might hurt her, and it might even hurt your marriage in the short term, but lying to her is already causing damage. Dishonesty creates cracks in a trust that widen over time, leading to resentment and disconnection. I've seen marriages come back from the brink. I've seen marriages and trust come back from infidelity. Being honest about what is going on, even if nothing else, it shows that you want to change things. If you believe your marriage is too far gone to start being honest with each other, that says a lot. You might be thinking, I don't want to deal with the backlash, and that's understandable, but avoidance isn't a solution. Instead, learn how to communicate effectively, use I statements instead of you statements, practice soft startups, and present problems in a way that invites collaboration rather than assigning blame. Frame the conversation as, this is the problem and we can fix it together, rather than you did this, you're the problem and you need to change. Sometimes life throws unexpected detours your way. Your internal GPS might lead you down a road with construction, forcing you to reroute. Plans change, life happens, but the good news is you can always get back on track together. As a husband, it is your responsibility to lead the process. As a husband, it is your responsibility to lead the process. Don't be afraid to ask for directions along the way, though. There are a lot of great books on communication, luckily for you. There are also a lot of videos on our YouTube channel about it, including a couple on I versus you. So many of us get this wrong. Soft startups and the check-ins. You can find that on our YouTube channel. Rethinking conversations. If the only time you're having conversations that last longer than 5 minutes is when you're in conflict, it's time to reevaluate your communication patterns. Are you the kind of husband who gives your wife the best version of yourself? Far too many men have deep, meaningful conversations with other people, friends, coworkers, or even strangers. Conversations that should be had with their wives. Why? Because it's easier to point out to someone else their shortcomings without getting pushback on your own. It's easier to vent to someone who will offer sympathy and tell you what you want to hear. The narrative often goes like this: why should I change? She's the problem. She's the one with the attitude. She's the one who nags, the one who doesn't put out like she used to. I'm the victim here. Tell me that doesn't sound like the mind. Tell me, does that sound like the mindset of a capable leader? Would you be willing to follow someone who talks like that? Of course not. How often has your wife come to you with a concern only for you to turn it into an argument? I'd bet at least half the time. At least half the time you've dismissed her feelings as just being emotional. Let me ask you, do you enjoy repeating yourself? Do you like asking for something only for it to be ignored? Do you enjoy feeling forgotten, unimportant, or unheard? It sucks, right? Well, that's exactly what you're doing to her. When your wife comes to you with a concern, the worst thing that you can do is become combative or defensive. Learn to truly listen to what she is saying. The sooner you do, the sooner you can get to the root of the problem and begin fixing it. Sometimes the problem is you. That doesn't mean you're a bad person, destined for divorce, or irredeemable. It simply means that there is an opportunity for growth. You have the ability to make things right. You are responsible for your actions, no one else. If you get defensive or emotionally charged when a concern is brought up, that's on you, not her. If your reaction to her is always poor, she will eventually feel unsafe with you on an emotional level. You will not get anything other than anger and conflict instead of honesty and communication. Now, if your wife is yelling or being overly aggressive, that is a different story. I am not saying to tolerate abuse. Yelling at your partner is a sign of emotional dysregulation and a bigger issue than whatever's happening in the moment. If your wife's behavior is out of character, it's likely a signal that that something deeper is wrong. In those moments, de-escalation is key. Start with reassurance. Whoa, hang on, babe. I love you. Those simple words can turn the volume of an argument down to a manageable level. Then listen. Truly listen. Validate her feelings and work together to find the real issue and fix it. Remember, leadership in a marriage is about creating a safe space for honest communication. It's not about winning arguments. It's about building a stronger partnership. No one wins an argument or a fight. Even if you got the last word and they submit to your point, do you still feel like shit afterwards? You still have to find a way to repair the situation. You lose. Look at it this way. You and your wife are a team, the same team. One of you can't lose without both of you losing. Your inability to effectively communicate will cost you the game. If your wife is coming at you aggressively and this isn't her normal, it's a clear indication that something deeper is going on. In moments like these, it's crucial to step back and figure out what's really happening and how you can address it constructively. I am fortunate enough to have a wife with whom I can calmly say, take a breath, or take a breath, babe. That's how I wrote it. It doesn't make the situation worse, but not everyone has that dynamic, and that's okay. There are still tools you can use in the heat of a moment to de-escalate tension. For example, try saying, whoa, 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 hang on, babe. I love you. It might sound simple, but it works. It works wonders. Regardless of her initial tone, assuming you are both emotionally mature, this does two critical things. It reminds her of your love for her. It reminds you that your love for her is the foundation of the conversation, and it creates a pause in the interaction. That pause can be the difference between an escalating argument and a productive discussion. Once things have calmed down, take a step back and say, tell me what's going on, and then listen. If you did something wrong or forgot to do something, own it. You're human. You make mistakes. It happens. The key is to validate her, whether she is angry, hurt, or frustrated. The anger is often just a mask for deeper feelings like fear, sadness, or insecurity. The more you dig to understand the root of her emotions, the easier it becomes to solve the actual problem. If forgetfulness is a reoccurring issue for you, ask for gentle reminders. It's not hard to say, babe, I've got a lot on my mind. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. If it's urgent, please let me know so I can prioritize it. Otherwise, feel free to remind me. It helps. This kind of openness fosters teamwork instead of tension. It's also fair to remind your wife that both of you have responsibilities. What's super important to you may not align perfectly with what's super important to her, and that is okay. Clear communication bridges the gap. Before we move on to the next thing, I want to briefly touch on keeping score and going tit for tat. When having a conversation or being in conflict. The past happened, period. No matter how much it hurts, no matter how much you wish it didn't, no matter how sorry you are or aren't, it happened. Once something has been addressed, validated, discussed, and the conversation comes to a close about it, let it go. Now, I'm not saying that you can never bring things up. I am, however, saying not to bring them up in a combative way or from a place of hurt. I will use an extreme example. Say there has been infidelity. There has been full disclosure, therapy, whatever, and you've decided to move past it and try to make the relationship work. Fighting over it stops there. It's not brought back up in conflict to start conflict or just to be nasty because you are still hurt by the memory. It is, however, healthy to say, hey, I need reassurance right now. This behavior is akin to previous patterns, and I am concerned. This just triggered a memory, and I'm going through it. These things are going to happen. If something feels wrong and you fly off the handle, you are ripping the scab off. You will not heal. You will make things worse, and you will, and all of the effort and time you put in will be for nothing, as you will have pushed your person away. Excuse me. I also want to point out that for most people, there will always be guilt for what they did. They will have to live with their actions. Throwing it in their face to hurt them or leverage an argument in your favor isn't the move. The point of all of that is even with the extremes, you can find better tools in communication and grow from it. All of this ties back to the essence of the husband title. Without a partner, you can't be a husband. At that point, you're just a man, perhaps even just a male who hasn't necessarily earned the deeper titles of husband, man, or father. These roles are earned through action, character, and commitment. Simply carrying the title doesn't mean you're good or bad at it. The choice to excel rests entirely on your shoulders. So ask yourself, am I a good man, a good husband? And more importantly, who gets to make that judgment? You can call yourself good all day long, but what truly matters is how your wife sees you. What does she say about you when you're not around? What do you say about her in return? Both reflect your character. They speak volumes about your leadership, your love, and your partnership. Leadership in the home. Let's talk about leadership and what it means to lead your home. If you're a man who believes it's your responsibility to lead and you feel like there's a mutiny brewing in your household, you need to ask yourself why. Leadership is earned, not demanded. If someone willingly follows you, but later resents you or stops trusting you, it's because you are not leading effectively. Leadership is not about control. It's about service, understanding, and accountability. This reminds me of a time in one of my favorite shows or movies, Remember the Titans. It's based on the true story set in 1971 when racial integration shook up Virginia High School, and its football team. Coach Herman Boone, played by Denzel Washington, steps into the leadership role amidst intense racial tension. Despite the odds, he unites the team, fostering a perfect season. One memorable scene captures the theme perfectly. Excuse me. Team captain Jerry Berthier, played by Ryan Hurst, confronts his teammate Julius Campbell, played by Wood Harris, about his attitude. Julian responds with a line that stuck with me. Attitude reflects leadership. Captain. Fucking phenomenal line. And you could see it. Ryan Hurst's character looks like he was fucking slapped in the face. The truth is, one of the most critical lessons that you can carry into marriage as a husband, your leadership sets the tone for your home. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and every decision you make, every win, every loss falls on your shoulders. Your losses as a family land at your feet. Your wins should be passed out to everyone. Are you strong enough to carry that? If you say yes, then you also need to be strong enough to hear your wife when she brings concerns or challenges you. If your wife doesn't feel safe coming to you with her thoughts or concerns, she'll find another way to make herself heard, often in more aggressive and indirect ways. That's not a reflection of her character as much as it is a sign of unmet needs in your relationship. You are not responsible for her delivery, but you are responsible for your response. The more you respond with calmness, safety, and openness, the more she'll feel comfortable addressing issues before they escalate. Over time, this builds a foundation where your conversations become easier, less tense, and more productive. Problems that once felt insurmountable will become simple mentions, not points of conflict. Over the last few years, I have stated numerous times on the podcast the best way to avoid violent interactions is to read the room and leave before things get out of control. Don't be there. This applies to your marriage as well. Want to avoid conflict? Don't let things get so bad that conversations start with hostility and hurt feelings. Have the conversations long before they get to that point. Try to resolve things your wife brings to you and do so when it's asked, not demanded or yelled. Sometimes life forces us to pause and course correct. We need to remember that we are not just living for ourselves anymore. The lives of our family depends on us in the way that, and we have to be willing to grow into the role of a husband every single day. Effective leadership requires humility, information, and adaptability. If you don't have all of the information, your decisions will be uninformed and likely flawed. That's why it's essential to foster communication. If your wife doesn't feel heard or valued, she will not provide the insight that you need to lead effectively. Woo! Information goes up and downstream, guys. You cannot lead effectively without proper information. It's just all there is to that shit. Leadership in a marriage is not about control. It is about service. It's about being the kind of man your wife can trust to guide your family with wisdom, compassion, and strength. If she feels safe with you, she'll support you. If she feels ignored, she will resist you. Attitude reflects leadership. As a husband, it's your responsibility to create an environment where your wife feels seen, heard, safe, and valued. That starts with listening, truly listening, taking accountability for your actions. Being a husband isn't a title that you inherit. It's one that you earn every day through your actions, your words, and your commitment to growth. Are you ready to step up? I understand that some men won't agree with the roles that I've outlined here, and that's okay. That's the beauty of opinions. You're entitled to yours, and it doesn't affect my life in the slightest. But let me ask you this. If you're married, thinking about getting married, why? What do you bring to your marriage? Do you believe everything in a marriage should be split 50-50? And how do you think that's even possible? Before I move on, that's the beauty of opinions. You're entitled to yours, and it doesn't affect my life in the slightest. But let me ask you this. How is your marriage? How is it? How's it going? You guys happy? Thriving? Are you at odds? Are you constantly in conflict? Do you resent your wife? Are you in the roommate phase? When was the last time that she told you that you were attractive? When was the last time that she initiated sex and actually enjoyed it? Because I know what my marriage looks like. Here's the truth. Life isn't 50-50. No matter how much you and your spouse strive to balance the scales, perfect equality in every area of your relationship is unattainable. What you can do, however, is play to your strengths and work together as a team. You bring what you're good at to the table, she does the same, and that's the foundation of a strong partnership. If you're in a relationship where your wife is the leader and you submit to her, this book may not fully align with your values. However, I still believe there's value here for you. Some women don't want to be in the traditional role of a wife. They want to be CEO, quote unquote boss bitches, or leaders in every aspect of their lives. For some, that's their vision of success, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. If you chose a partner like that, your life is going to look very different from that of the average man. You're in a small percentage of relationships, and honestly, I'd be curious to see how that works out for you in the long run. But here's where my skepticism lies. I believe being a submissive man allows for a woman to dictate your life and lead the relationship. That is not a natural role for a man. Let's ask some honest questions. If someone breaks into your home, whose job will it be to protect your family? Is it yours? Are you capable? Will she demand that you step up and handle the situation only for you to fall short? This isn't sarcasm. It is a genuine question. Regardless of your relationship dynamic, your duty as a man is to protect, provide, and lead. It still remains. There's no such thing as a perfect 50-50 balance. The deeper discussion around this concept would take an entire chapter on its own, but the bottom line is this. You get to decide how you live your life. No one else can make that choice for you. If your relationship dynamic makes you happy and you're thriving, then that's what matters. Your relationship is just that, yours. My opinion shouldn't have a sway. However, I believe that deep down, most men feel the call to lead, to protect and to take on the responsibility of being the man of the house. After rereading this, I feel it clearly conveys what makes a man a husband, the price of fulfilling that role, and what it looks like to be successful. But before moving on, I want to address something that can sabotage even the strongest relationships: pornography, flirting, and inappropriate behavior towards other women. If you're turning to porn in any form, it's a sign that there is a void in your relationship. It means that you are not communicating your needs to your wife. There is a disconnect in intimacy, and instead of addressing it, you're turning from the one person you were committed to for your life. You're allowing something or someone else to fill a gap that should be bridged by your partner. Flirting with other women to feel validated or to meet an emotional need is equally harmful. When you do this, you're essentially saying, my relationship isn't giving me what I need, so I'm seeking it elsewhere. If your intimacy meter is running on empty, the answer isn't to look outside your marriage, it's to address the issue with your wife. Emotional cheating is often the precursor to physical cheating, and it starts with a small, seemingly harmless behaviors. Furthermore, most women agree that emotional cheating is worse than physical cheating to them. It's like you gave your heart to another woman. Lastly, let's talk about bragging to your friends or being overly sexual with people who aren't your partner. If you're making excuses like just because I'm on a diet doesn't mean I can't look at the menu, or I'm a guy, it's natural for me to want other women, stop. These justifications don't hold up, and deep down you know it. These behaviors hurt your partner and undermine your trust, the trust in your relationship. You are simply trying to justify your shitty behavior. It's time to unfollow the Instagram models and thirst traps. Put your phone down. Stop giving your attention to women who haven't earned it and don't deserve it. Instead, turn your focus back to your wife. Remember why you married her. Remember of the love you claim to have on your wedding day. That love isn't a one-time vow. It's something you recommit to every single day. If you're giving your attention and energy to other women, you are robbing your wife of something that is hers. Redirect that energy into your marriage. Being a husband isn't a privilege. Being a husband is a privilege, a responsibility, and a role that demands constant effort. It's not for the faint of heart, and it's not something that you can take lightly. To be a great husband, you must lead with integrity, stay emotionally present, and remain faithful, not just in body, but in mind and spirit. If you're struggling, start by taking accountability, examine your actions, your behavior, your excuses, and are you giving your wife the best version of yourself, or are you letting distractions, temptations, or selfish habits get in the way? The choice is yours. Step up, refocus, and be the man you promised to be. After all, no one else can do it for you. Be there and present. Sometimes life will take you away from your family for work. This is something that a lot of men face. If you're doing 60+ hours of work week if you're doing 60-hour work weeks, make sure that you do regular date nights if you can afford it. If you can afford it, send her chocolates or flowers. Pro tip, sign up for a website local to you for their newsletter or specials. Those emails are annoying, but a great reminders to order things for her. If she works, send them to her work. It makes her feel amazing. And let's be honest, it makes you look good in the process. Always send a note. You can be connected even when you aren't there. Trust me, this matters. And I wrote that in there because I sent her an edible arrangement once without an I love you note attached to it. And she was like, where's my note? I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, I sent you this. Isn't that enough? And she's like, no, I want the note. I was like, why? And she's like, because I save every one of them. And she does. She's got them all stashed away. For all of you who have fallen short as a husband, remember no one is perfect. We have all made mistakes and hopefully we learn from them. As I close this chapter, I have cheated. I have lied, deflected feelings, downplayed scenarios, and been a total piece of shit as a man and a husband. Before Peach, I was broken. That past is part of my story, not the entire story. If you want it badly enough, you can change. Hopefully this book is the catalyst that makes you a better man. We're an hour and 30 minutes in, and we're just now getting to chapter 4. So I am going to wrap up. My back is starting to bother me. I will probably come back and sit down tomorrow. Jenna said, can't keep the edible arrangement, but can keep the note. That's factual. We fucking eat the shit out of those edible arrangements. What'd you guys think? I would like you to be honest. Leave me a comment. If something in here I said pissed you off, or you vehemently disagree, or you don't like the tattoos on my face, leave a comment. I want to see all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. I want you guys to tune back in. I will be doing this until this book is completed. Hopefully by Monday or Tuesday of next week, the entire thing will be done. But we'll see. This book is taking me longer to read than my first one. With that being said, guys, we are not working for the rest of the day, and we'll see you guys probably tomorrow. Now I got to hit the end button.